today I'm going to read my real school. My name is Drea, and I love school. I love tests, I love homework, I love teachers, and teachers love me. Teachers pet A.J.A. calls me. He thinks I'm an innocent, but I love it. Who wouldn't want to be the teacher's favorite? J.A.J. dot
Just say AJ.
AJ, who all he wants to be is class clown. He doesn't even care what he gifted and talented. I love being gifted and talented. We're the only ones in the class, so we get to go on field trips, just the two of us. Rayon says, this morning, AJ and Andrea are going to the art museum together. They must be in love. Well, duh, of course we are. AJ just doesn't know it yet. When you are two getting married, said Malefica. Michael. Never, yelled AJ. Ha, that's what he thinks. Remember to behave at the museum, warned Mr. Koppel. He looked at AJ when he said it. Teachers never look at me when they give warnings. AJ and I took our tiny bus to the art museum. A man met us outside. He was really old, with hair grown out of his ears. I'm the museum educator, he said. Ooh, an educator in the ward. A teacher, he said. Well, he was going to love me. The man led us inside very slowly. Excuse me, sir, I said. He didn't hear me. Excuse me, sir, I said louder. What's your name, Mr. Measle? He answered. More like Mr. Greasel, said AJ. He started giggling. Shh, I told him. Cut it out. Mr. Measle turned around. I thought he was going to frown at AJ, but he frowned at me. Wow. Mr. Measle shuffled ahead. His painting was just dotted.
Donated
To the museum, he said. Good thing didn't pay for it, said AJ. It's just a bunch of dumb circles I sighed. It's not just circles. It must mean something very deep and important. What is it called? AJ read the sign next to it. Just circles, he said. Ha. That's the sign. So that's some sculptures. It got worse than AJ saw a statue. It's naked, he said. No, it's nude. I created. What's the difference? Said AJ. I can still see its butt right here. He thinks that's a butt. I was getting really annoyed. Arlo's G-Feast, I said. I like to call AJ by his real name, especially when I'm mad. It's good practice for when we marry. We look at fine art, and all you see is a butt. I didn't mean to, but I said but really loud. It goes through the museum. But, Mr. Weasel gasped. Young lady, stop saying that, or it acted very immature. What? But I said, I told you to stop saying that, said Mr. Haynes. AJ laughed so hard he fell down. Mr. Copper said one of you might misbehave, Mr. C muttered. Now I know who he meant. His was horrible, he could, Mr. Think. I was the troublemaker from now on. I had to be perfect. He went to the next room. It was full of swords and shields. Tall suits of armor stood in a row. Cool, said AJ. Look. But don't touch, warned Mr. Weasel. He looked at me when he said it. At me. I took a deep breath to calm myself down. I felt something tickling my nose. That armor was awful dusty. I said. Achoo! My sneezes knocked me off. Pleasing
Balance.
I bumped into a stud of armor. Clang, it fell down. Clang, it knocked over the next stud of armor. Clang, 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 clang. All the armor crashed to the floor. I'm sorry, Mr. Weasel, I cried. I mean, Mr. Weasel, that's it, he snapped. I'm sending you back to school with a note to your teacher. No! AJ tried to talk to me on the bus back to school. Look, on the bright side, Eldor Andrea. Now that Mr. Copper will hate you, I'll stop calling you teacher pets. I love being called that, you dumbhead, I shouted. At school, I went straight to Mr. Copper. I unfolded the note. Dear Mr. Copper, I read out loud. One of your students misbehaved at the museum today. I gulped. This was it. I started to read my name, and it was me, of course, yelled AJ. He ripped the note out of my hands and crumbled it up. Oh, AJ, Mr. Copper sighed, I'm disappointed in you. Oh, AJ sighed, I love you. And now I'm sure you'll love me too. I did say it out loud, of course, but it was true. Why else would he save me like that? AJ was my knight in shining armor. Will AJ ever admit he loves me? Well, I always been Mr. Copper's pet. Will I go back to the museum and follow Mr. Greases for days until he makes me his teacher pet too? Of course, it will be easy. Thank you for reading My Weird School. Bye-bye.